Hello everyone and welcome to another Java tutorial. Today I will be going over how to make an arithmetic expression solver, kind of like a Wolfram or a symbol lab. So the first part of this tutorial is basically just setting up the equations, how to get the equations. So when I mean by equations, I mean these kinds of equations. Not that one. I mean these kinds of equations. So let's say you have an equation 5 times 4. We're going to figure out how we can get this to make 20, right? Or if we had 3 plus 5 times 4, so on and so forth. We know this is 20, and then plus the 3 we get 23. We're going to be solving this problem and be able to program it, but we're going to be programming this non-recursively. And what recursive programming is you have a method that calls itself. So it's basically like a factorial. You know how a factorial is, where you have 5 factorial and that's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Well, you can program a factorial very easily using a recursive tool. But because recursive is very, difficult in my opinion, we're going to solve this the old-fashioned way and solve this using while loops, for loops, and pretty much anything that doesn't involve recursive programming. So the first thing I did was I created Arithmetic Expression Tutorial class, very specific, obviously. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new class that's going to pretty much hold our expressions. So let's just make a new class called expression. Alright, and in this expression we're pretty much going to get our input. So let's create a new expression constructor, and we're going to take input, obviously, and we're going to do let's actually make this input obviously class wide. So let's do not out there in here, public string input. And you're probably wondering, why aren't we using integers? Because we're going to be recreating this input every time we get part of our equation. So going back to here, we see the 5 times 4. Well, our problem is that how do we get this part? Well, that's what we're going to do. The first part is getting the inside parentheses. PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Something you learn in grade school. So the first thing is we're going to solve the innermost parentheses. So that 5 times 4, we're going to read this equation and see that this gets 20, right? So that's the first part, right? So this 20 is going to replace this entire thing and put in a 20, and then so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have our input, obviously. Now the next thing we're going to do is we need to hold our replacement string, right? The string that we're going to use to recreate our input. So we're going to just do recreate string, right? And that needs to be string. Okay, and actually I'm going to do string input. We're going to do this dot input equals our input, and then our recreate string is going to equal nothing. Okay, now before we do anything else, we need to be able to just get our input. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a scanner class. So scanner, let's just do input, that way we know what this is gonna be. New scanner system.in, because we're getting our input from our computer. Add input for scanner, and we are good to go to get input. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do, just so that way the user knows what to do, please put in your expression surrounded by parentheses. Okay, so then fix that. Actually, let's do print line in parentheses. Okay, so what we're going to do is our expression is going to equal our input dot next line. Okay, and now this next part, we're going to need to find every parentheses, right? Every inner parentheses. So essentially this is an inner parentheses, the first parentheses that is actually completed. So you see here we have a open, an open, and a close. So we have an expression, right? It doesn't matter if there's another one here, right? Let's just say 5 plus 8. We're just completing it. We're just completing it as we go along. We're going from the inner parentheses to the outer parentheses. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the parentheses. So let's just do we already have our expression class, so all we need to do is expression. Let's just do e equals new expression and then our input. Okay, and we haven't created this yet, but let's do this now. We're going to create our public method that's going to find our innermost parentheses. Now that's not too hard to do. Just a couple of while statements. Public void parentheses. Later on in the tutorials, I will show you how to actually keep going on. Right now we're just going to get the innermost parentheses, right? We're not going to yet finish it. Okay, we'll do that at the end. Okay, so in our find parentheses class, we are going to do this. We need to have our index, right? We're going to go through each of our input, so we need to have an index. So int index, we're going to start off at 0. Okay, and we need our character. We need to get every character in our input, that way we know when to stop. So we're going to do string character equals input, right? Our class input dot substring. Now how substring works is, let's say you have a thing called ABC. Our 0 starts here where the blinking is to 1. But even though this our B is our index 1, but it's just starting from the beginning of it. So 0, 1, 2, 3, but not including. So we need our index, right? Because we're starting at 0. Let's say we want to get A, we go 0 to 1, and now we have our A. So index plus 1. Oops. Okay, and we need to know where our parentheses are. That way we can replace our equation, our expression that we evaluated. So our 5 times 4, we need to have a clear indication of where the expression started. That way we can replace that 5 times 40 with our 20. Okay, so int open parentheses, spell it right, equals 0. We're just setting it there because we know that we're always gonna find a parentheses. Okay, so equal that to 0 as well. Okay, now this is the hard part, and we're going to just do index plus plus because we're going to just go to the next one. Now this is why we did index plus plus. We're going to have a while loop that's going to check while our character does not equal a close parentheses, because then we have our equation, right? So we don't need to stay in the while loop anymore. Okay, so while character dot equals our close parentheses. So this is basically saying, okay, if character equals our close parentheses, it's going to be true, right? So this is going to be false, and we exit out the while loop. Okay, so now we do our character. We're just making sure that our character does not originally equal our close parentheses in the beginning. That would be kind of weird. So character equals input dot substring, and by the way, note that our expression, if you notice, all of them start in parentheses. That's just to make it uniform. Input dot substring, our index, and then our index plus 1. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to check if our input, if our character equals a parentheses, an open parentheses. Okay, and the reason we're doing that is because we want to check to see if we're coming across an expression. If we are coming across an expression, we want to be able to get that open parentheses and close parentheses, right? So if we get that, we're going to do open parentheses equals our index, right? The index we're currently on. Okay, and that's pretty much it for that. The next thing we want to do is we want to check if our character equals our close parentheses. Character dot equals our close parentheses. Okay, and lastly, we're going to do close parentheses equals our index. Alright, and that's pretty much it for that. Okay, I know I only got 3 minutes left, but we can do this. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do really quick is we're going to create a variable that's going to hold the expression that we're trying to recreate, right? What I mean recreate is we get the expression, right, that we're replacing, and we're just going to hold it there. That way when we come back to it, we can recreate it. We can change the whole expression, replacing what we were holding. So, okay, so void, because we're not really returning anything, because this method is going to be doing stuff and not returning things. It's just gonna be doing things. So our recreate string plus equals a. Okay, and that's pretty good. And down here, when we get our open parentheses, our close parentheses, we're just going to get finally the whole equation that we are going to be evaluating. Okay, so our recreate expression is going to equal our input dot substring and our open parentheses plus 1, because we're not getting a, the first parentheses. Where's my mouse? We're not getting this, we're getting the one after that. So if it's that 5 times 4, we're getting the 5. Okay, and then our close parentheses. Okay, and that's about it for this tutorial. I'm at 15 minutes. I don't really want to go over it. So currently, if you were able to follow me, awesome. So right now, don't real quick wrap up. We just created our find parentheses part. We just created the method that's going to find each parentheses as a subpart. Okay, so thank you for watching. Please subscribe and please share with your friends. If you have any questions whatsoever, you may put them in the comments below and I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. Have a good one.